watching Morning at NTV.
DNA has become a very poignant topic in the month of June 2023. Of course, it stems from a story of one rich man in this country who took all his children for a DNA test, only to discover that a big number of them, were not actually his biological children. And so it has become a societal conversation, which again is definitely one that we ought to be responding to here on Morning at NTV. Welcome to our Tech Note. I am Priscilla Regina Naloga, putting DNA testing trends into context. Now, the number of men seeking DNA paternity tests for their children here in Uganda is increasing by 70%. Many have walked by that particular clinic in Wandegere, and they speak of the long lines Monday to Monday. Uganda's Ministry of Internal Affairs did come out to say that the average number of men that sought paternity tests 3 years ago was 3 people per month, but it has significantly risen to 100 for the same duration. Now, according to the same Ministry, Internal Affairs, the DNA test for 3 samples, that's mother, father and child, costs around 750,000 Ugandan shillings. To put this into context, I am joined by Grace Ranga, who's a feminist, and she's going to give us a better perspective of DNA testing versus the family structure and the family moral fiber of our country, and this whole backlash on women. Good morning to you.
Good morning, madam. And of course, as you said, my name is Grace Rwanga Nachirija. I'm a feminist. I've been following this conversation about DNA very, very closely, and the question has been, oh, women of this country are embarrassing the country. Will they be able to restore their dignity? Actually, for me, that is the starting point. Okay,
and so given the fact that there's so many men that have decided to check, for the DNA of their children to find out if these are truly their children, of course, the backlash is going to go not just to women, by the way, but to marriages and to the family tree at the end of the day. But focusing on women, where does this leave the dignity of a woman in today's society, and where does it leave the respect of that woman in today's society upon this information coming to life, that maybe some of these children do not belong to the man that she's presently with?
Thank you. As I said, that's where I want to start from. Actually, I would reframe the question by saying, where is the dignity of Uganda? Where does this leave the dignity of the family institution of this country? Because one, when you look at the issue, the whole process of a child coming into the world, it takes 2 people, a woman and a man. But beyond that, we also have institutions right from the family. Up to even, we have instruments like our constitution. All these play out to protect this family institution. So when issues of DNA come up, we go back to key issues. How do people start their relationships in the first place? Are they ready? Are people talking? Intimate partners, husband and wife, are people holding the relevant conversations in their relationships?
When you say relevant conversations, what are you currently referring to in line with this topic?
Let me be very specific. When people get into a relationship, do they even ever think of carrying out fertility tests? Because people just fall in love. What matters is a wedding and an introduction.
People must talk about it.
Yes, but this is an eye-opener to everyone. The issue of DNA, whether the results are positive or negative, it's no longer a woman's conversation. It's a conversation for everyone. So if you look at the women, I wonder, the women who have been involved in this whole issue, I wonder who has reached out to them. It could be that these are absentee men, for example. He's there, he put you in the house, but he's never there. For heaven's sake, these women are also human beings. So if you are going to father one child, rent a house, take 2 years, you are enjoying somewhere, but you expect her to keep and wait. And on top of that, you told her, I don't expect you to work. So sometimes you deliver the necessities, the basics, but sometimes you don't. That is the whole conversation. And even to people who say, oh, the man was able, he was giving her everything. Marriage or love or even intimacy is just beyond paying children's school fees. It's beyond food. The women need to see you, or the wife needs to see you at home. She needs to see you in the bedroom.
The natural composition of womanhood.
Yes, not just saying that, oh, he has been paying this, doing this. Husband and wife need to start the conversation. And of course, the other question would be, people are saying the woman of today, oh my God, when I was growing up, my grandfather, whenever they brought newborn babies. So one time I asked him, I'm like, so how do you know that this child belongs to our clan? He said, these things of women and children, as long as the woman says this child belongs here, that is the most important thing. The rest are history, because it's the woman who knows. So he was like, for me, if a woman has said this, I wouldn't reject this situation. Okay.
Let's first go back to the context of DNA itself. Yes. When these tests are being taken, what are the mandatories or the bare minimums for these tests to actually be carried out? In the presence of whom should they be carried out? And what would have been the more rightful way? Because I'm assuming if a man takes the child, chances are they have lied to the child to take them for this test. And so you have already lied to your child, and then the results may also add more damage to your child, and you have left out the woman in question simply because you fear that whatever the results are simply because of her doing. So we seem to be having a misnomer in there when it comes to what are the mandatory requirements of a DNA test and what should actually be the recommendations.
Thank you so much. For me, I would think let us strengthen the systems. Because a man making a decision to go and test a child, that is fine. But where are the supportive mechanisms to support this man, these children, and the wife? For example, if a man walks to Wandegea, before even the samples are taken, is this man given psychosocial support? We have institutions, or is he even asked, where is your partner?
Yeah, because in the case of HIV, we have seen that case for, pre-counseling. They'll ask you, do you have a partner? And if your partner is present, can you come with your partner? So that the two are actually, given counseling accordingly.
And even that, women have faced it off, the consequences. Children born even out of HIV/AIDS. They are told it's your mother who gave you. You see the language, the framing of the language. But coming back to our conversation, for me, I would still think now, since the situation is getting out of hand per se, we need to institutionalize the supportive mechanisms. I'm a man, I work to Wandegea. The Wandegea team should be able to demand, where is the mother? Where is your partner? They take these people through psychosocial support. It's not them to give the
consent.
Yes, it's not them to give the psychosocial support. We have other systems. They could do a referral to sit down these people, and then they bring them back for the tests, to get their samples.
And would this psychosocial support also include the child?
Yes.
Because we must put the child into context.
Whatever we do at this case is in the interest of the child. Because these were two consenting adults, this child becomes a third party, yet the issue centers on the child. And anyway, these two adults will move on. What happens to this child? Just imagine you wake up, your dad, the one you knew is your dad, walks at your school and says, get out, I am no longer your father. That is grave damage for these children. And even after, for example, the tests are done, results are out, people need to be supported. Whether these results are negative or positive, people need to be supported to accept, because if we don't do that, then we are fueling gender-based violence in this country.
Okay.
And as you are aware, globally, before this situation actually, globally, we lose 4.7 trillion US dollars to issues of GBV. Uganda alone loses 77 billion shillings every year to issues of GBV. So now, given the escalating results of DNA results, for example, this 77 billion is going to increase. So how does the context of GBV come in? We test, go home, like I watched news where the man said, I am going home, I'm going back for that woman. So that's already intimate partner violence. So as he goes back, the children are there. That is already violence against children. Before you know, the father, his father comes in, the relatives of the woman come in, that's already family violence. So the problem now ceases to be a woman's problem. What of our colleagues who are impotent? We know very many people, some of them who are impotent, especially the men.
And we know that our African culture has made it in such a way that those that are impotent, especially to the side of men, are still protected by these decisions.
Yes.
Because your singers will tell you, no, it's okay. You cannot shame a man because a man cannot be known as impotent in society. The solution is sleep with a brother, get a child, and life moves on. Save the marriage.
Yes, and also, men who are impotent, I've had testimonies from women, do not, some of them are not happy for society to know that they are impotent. So they also go ahead and be with women. Yet when they reach there, they tell the woman, please, I have a problem, but don't shame me, don't say anything, but you are free to have children. So after some time, she has the children, protecting the man's dignity. And then the family comes up and says, we know this. So everything is coerced. They go for DNA. But originally, the agreement was, keep it as a secret. Okay. I'm impotent.
Coming back to the DNA conversation directly, some results will come out positive, some results are going to come out negative.
Yes.
What is the effect on that, on children, on the men themselves, but also on women, for those especially that come out negative?
Of course, it kills the relationship. Even if they are negative, I don't think the women, I mean, even if they are positive, I don't think husband and wife can ever be the same. So it also greatly influences intimate partner violence.
So do we see in the near future the statistics of divorce in Uganda increasing rapidly because of such situation?
Definitely, and that's why you see for us as feminists in this country, we are asking government to pass the pending gender equality bills into law. If we had a marriage bill today, it has been lying on the floors, on the desks at Parliament for a very long time. If we had a marriage bill passed in this country into law, it would solve some of the problems.
What are some of those clauses that, if existed in present day time, would actually combat this?
Actually, right now it's still into drafting. I couldn't say, because if I said, it could be like those clauses are ready. Okay. They are not yet ready. And the same applies.
What would be the recommendations?
Actually, for me, I would think we first track these bills, now include some of these, strengthen or include some of these current issues like DNA. We even have the sexual offences bill. It was bounced back by the 11th Parliament. I wish these bills are passed into law. We can revise the clauses, strengthen the current situation. Everyone will be protected. But at this level, everyone, and for me, really, my sympathies, my apologies go to the children, because they were two consenting adults. The child was born, the child is innocent, and their children who have even been disowned because of DNA. But before you know, the mother doesn't even know that where the father is. She can't even sometimes remember. So again, it is the children who are suffering. But also, interesting enough, there are men, after even doing the DNA, they turn back and say, no, even if that's what came out. I'm happy to live with the children. But the harm, you see, even when he's turning around to say it's okay, they'll stay as my children. But the damage control becomes now a
which goes back to the psychosocial support that you alluded to earlier. And in the present existing institutions, especially as far as mental health is concerned, do those exist in catering to this particular category that is DNA lenient?
Yes, they would get the support. And actually, who knows? The whole issue of the results might again escalate the already bad situation as far as mental health is concerned. You know, we are still grappling with the effects of COVID-19, climate change. Now, here we are. Chances are high that even mental health becomes a big issue for these families and beyond the husband and wife. One man told me that, for me, I don't know, if this happened to me, I can't tell my father. He would die because he's very sickly. So I come back, I tell him, these are not your grandchildren. That would be very, very tough.
Devastating.
Yes.
So there's a whole line of society that is affected by a single person's decision.
Yes.
Okay, which then begs the question on the culture of family structuring of our country. You talked about supportive systems or structures or institutions that ought to be able to actively be part of society to, one, maybe prevent these occurrences in the first place, or protect the family unit in the second place. Where do we stand on that assessment and evaluation? Have those other institutions, because I would assume religious institutions are one of them, have they fallen short of their mandate to society?
I think in this country today, things have fallen apart, especially when it comes to issues of the domestic setting. Like, it's very clear we have the laws. These institutions also have policies. We have like the Domestic Violence Act. But you will find that even implementation of that act, commitment by government to have resources, enough resources,
and penalization,
is still a challenge. Implementation of the laws, even in the court systems, the justice systems, is still a big issue. So I would also look at the religious leaders.
So in your conclusion, how do we continuously assess and make sure that the moral fiber of our country is in check?
I think we need to get back to the basics at any point. Like, for example, one day, if the people are going there, do we have a referral mechanisms where these people can be referred? And of course, we have to hold the conversation with them. As we are doing this, it's very important that we respect the do no harm principles. Confidentiality is one of them. Even how are we delivering the results? Do we need media? If we need media, then there is a lot of protection. We shouldn't say the names. If the children, we cover them, we make sure there is a lot of confidentiality, but also we give people the chance. We give them the options, the alternatives, then they choose. For example, if I walked and maybe I'm being told there is a child and family protection department in Wandegeya, maybe I'm not happy, I'm not okay, I'm not comfortable with the police, then maybe they could refer me to this religious leader. But now the question would be, is the religious leader able? Has that person been trained to really give me the support mechanisms?
All right. Well, we have clearly opened up a can of worms. How I pray and plead to you that maybe sometime in the near future we can be able to close the can of worms that we have opened.
Definitely.
But thank you so much, Madam Luanga Grace, who's a feminist and who has definitely brought this conversation into perspective. I was listening to a conversation relatedly to the DNA, and this presenter asked the audience, men and women, who cheat more? The caller said, well, who who do men cheat with when they go about their cheating escapades? Do they do it with cows, with desks? No, they do it with women. So it's an equal number, and therefore it reflects on the societal moral fiber of our country, which calls you to do a self-check on you. Your actions have an equal and opposite reaction, so be mindful of that. Anyway, we do have to make it to the end of Morning at NTV Monday's editions, but we have some birthdays in the house. The first birthday baby goes